The 64th Annual Grammy Awards were handed out in Las Vegas last night, and we're joined by Etalk's Lainey Louie to share some of the big highlights from the big night. Okay, Lainey, first up, the award show's first big prize went to Silk Sonic. Of course, that's the duo of Bruno Mars and the other guy. Sorry, I blanked. I forgot his name. I know it's
Anderson .Paak.
Yes.
Anderson .Paak, that's right. There are 4 big categories at the Grammys. So Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Album of the Year, and Best New Artist. Silk Sonic took 2 of the 4, Record of the Year and Song of the Year, with Leave the Door Open. They were among the hugest winners. They were hilarious. They were energized. They were charismatic. Look at them. It was so much fun to watch them. Album of the Year went to Jon Batiste. That's, one of the big 4. And of course, he received the most nominations of all nominees. So it was expected for him to really take home that award. And then also expected Olivia Rodrigo taking home Best New Artist. She won multiple awards last night, among them, yes, the big 4. So definitely a new superstar in the game. We'll see lots more from Olivia Rodrigo in the years to come.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Toronto will get a chance to see her because she is playing here in April. So maybe I'll take my boys because they are big fans of her. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about Lady Gaga paying tribute to Tony Bennett. This was a special moment.
Yes, they won a Grammy together for their latest work. And of course, he could not be there. She performed in tribute to him. What a showcase of her talents, too, the variety of her musical gifts. She can do it all. And this is, big band music. This is standards. This is the kind of music that Lady Gaga is also into, in addition to pop. So it was one of the night's best performances. And again, a reminder of the artist that she is.
Okay, and Lainey, another very big, significant moment last night. The Ukrainian president, Vladimir Zelensky, he made a appeal during the Grammy Awards saying, our musicians are wearing armor while you guys are wearing tuxedos.
That's right. And what he was saying was, understanding that this is a night of celebration, but use your music to tell our story. And he talked about the power of music to elevate, but to also communicate. And so that was his message. We've been expecting to see him at award shows, maybe even the Oscars last week. There was some word. He did not show up at the Oscars, but he showed up at the Grammys in this prepared speech. And yes, it was definitely one of the most notable moments of the night. And I do think the artist took to heart what he was saying about the power of music.
Okay, I'm not sure if we have a clip of it. Maybe we can play a few seconds of it.
And kill people. Our children draw swooping rockets. Our loved ones don't know if we will be together again. The war doesn't let us choose who survives and who stays in eternal silence. Our musicians wear body armor instead of tuxedo. They sing to the wounded in hospitals, even to those who can't hear them, but the music will break through anyway.
And that, of course, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. All right, finally, Lainey, we are a breakfast show. Let's talk about butter. Not the one you spread on toast, but of course, BTS performing at the Grammys.
Yeah, BTS, this is the first time they performed at the Grammys as the featured artist themselves. They've been there, but they've been as part of someone else's set. This was one of the highlights of the night. And I'm not just saying it because I'm Army. People were on their feet. They were among the most popular artists last. Everybody wanted a picture with BTS, and you can see why. They are electrifying performers, and they really own that stage. But they are doing a 2-week residency in Vegas. Vegas has been taken over by BTS right now. You can't get away from them. So the Grammys is just one stop on their Vegas domination.
Wow, I love how they're kind of redefining and bringing the boy band back. Okay, Lainey Louie with the latest on the Grammys. Thank you so much. We'll chat with you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, author Sonia Singh has released her first rom-com novel that follows the adventures of a woman trying to connect with her South Asian roots. Her laugh-out-loud book, Sari Not Sorry, introduces readers to family traditions and tackles identity crisis that kids of immigrants face. So for more on this new book, Sonia Singh, the author, joins us live now on CP24 Breakfast this morning. Sonia, thank you so much for joining us. This novel, Sari Not Sorry, the protagonist, a South Asian ambitious woman trying to, I guess, balance her business as the CEO of this breakup company, but also trying to find her roots or reconnect with her cultural identity. Is Manny, the protagonist, loosely based off of you?
Of course she is. You know, you just said it right there. We talked about identity crises, especially as a child of immigrant parents. And so this was something that I definitely struggled through. And I don't think until my 30s, I was actually able to understand what being South Asian is and how important the culture and heritage for me is. And, you know, I also was going through a breakup at the time when I wrote this book. So there had to be elements of laughing out loud with bursts of masala, we call it in Punjabi. And I really wanted to pepper it with anecdotes of my point of view from South Asian culture.
Mm-hmm. And the title, Sorry Not Sorry, I mean, Canadians are famously apologetic, right? We're sort of known for our apologies. So the play on words here, I love from kind of multiple angles. Did you come up with the title yourself, or is that something that sort of you work with your editors on? Or is that just an idea you had, I want this book to be this?
Well, I have to be honest, originally it was called Operation Indian, which I totally cringed thinking about the fact that it was actually called that. But I had a moment with my sister, and, you know, it was way back when she had actually borrowed my sari. And I remember asking her, are you going to wear that sari to this event that we were going to? And she walked away and said, sorry, not sorry. And that just sort of stuck in my head. And so I thought, what a perfect way to get people's attention. And that cover is so beautiful. So either the title or the book cover is going to reel you in as a reader.
Yeah, it's definitely catchy, Sonia. I want to talk about this issue of cultural identity crisis, because I think a lot of children of immigrants, including myself, who grew up here in Canada, we're kind of stuck in this place when, you know, racism was kind of more rampant back in the old days, where you're kind of ashamed of your cultural identity. And you talked about how you even changed your name to make it sound less Indian, that you would be kind of relieved or even happy when people said, oh, you look Spanish, you look Latina, you don't look Indian, because of all the negative stereotypes that have been associated with being Indian. So tell us why you decided to write this novel and address some of those issues.
Yeah, you know, when I look back, I just want to give that girl a hug, because she really didn't know what she was going through. And I think, you know, we talked about this before we went to air. Nick and I used to work together way back in the day. And before I started in television, they asked me to change my name. My actual Indian name is Sinder Singh. And the news director told me that it wasn't going to cut it in an audience where they were looking for people that weren't diverse. So I changed my name to Sonia. You know, my parents used to call me Sonu, which is Sonia, which went to Sonia. And I tried to blend into a place where I wanted to look Spanish or Caucasian. And those themes are addressed in Sorry Not Sorry. You know, you're learning about a culture or a heritage that I'm also learning about now. And I'm so excited to share it. And I'm not embarrassed, because I know so much more about it. And it's more than just the saris. It's more than just the food. It's more than just feasting in the weddings. It's really about your identity and how your roots, particularly from your parents, are passed down to you.
Yeah, you're really embracing your heritage. This, of course, is Sikh Heritage Month as well, Sonia. So that's sort of another facet to this. And while we talk about your book, we should also talk about the fact you've got a Hallmark movie coming out this year too. You're not slowing down.
I'm not, you know, and the thing is that I almost slowed down, because I did receive some rejections earlier on in my career where I was told that my story was too Indian, not Indian enough, or there wasn't enough space to have another rom-com author because another one was coming into the business at the same time. So I just kept pushing through, and realizing that I'm such a huge Hallmark fan, I thought I'd reach out to Hallmark. I cold called them with this great idea for a movie called Christmas Spice that's going to have all lead South Asian actors, and I'm so excited for it to come out December 2022.
Wow, that is amazing. And it's going to be the first Indian holiday Hallmark movie rom-com. So you're definitely breaking barriers there and also making a bit of history, Sonia. I really appreciate your time, your new book, Sorry Not Sorry. It is out today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah,
Thanks
congrats.
for the support.
Great to catch up.
Too.
Take care. Joining us live this morning for his weekly chat here on CP24 Breakfast is Toronto Mayor John Tory. Good Wednesday morning to you, Mayor Tory. Hope you're doing well today.
Hey, Nick. Yes, I'm fine, thanks. I hope you are too.
I am doing well. Okay, so let's talk about COVID and this sixth wave right now, because there is so much that we need to sort of get into here, and I'm really wondering where you think we are right now. We haven't heard really anything from the Chief Medical Officer of Health in the province for the last month, although Dr. Eileen Davila from Toronto is saying, you know, she's encouraging masking but doesn't think it's necessary. You know, we need those mandates. But the wastewater data shows infections are going up, disease is going up, hospitalization rates seem okay, but there are dire calls in some sides of sort of infectious diseases, social media for what's happening here. What do you understand the sort of situation we're in right now? Because I think a lot of people are wondering, where's Toronto? What do we need to do here?
Well, I think Toronto is exactly where Dr. Davila and the other experts that we've listened to so carefully, and certainly I have, are exactly where we thought we would be, which is that it was said that when the restrictions were lifted to some extent, that there would be an uptick in cases, and that is what is happening, and that is being looked at and monitored every single day. But I think that the advice has not changed, and so from my standpoint, I have been clear, as the earlier doctor was asking, that we should be, public officials and people that have a platform, in saying to people simply this: vaccination, vaccination, and vaccination are our top three priorities in that order. It has been the case throughout that the best protection people can have against getting sick, and against, in particular, ending up in the hospital and possibly worse, is to get vaccinated. And so we've continued a steady drumbeat. Some people might find it boring to say that with those who have not been vaccinated, including those who haven't had a third dose, should get vaccinated. Dr. Davila added to that this week that she thought that people should voluntarily wear a mask. And she is saying, yes, you should wear a mask whenever you can. She's simply saying at this point in time, the advice coming from her, and I assume from Dr. Moore, is that it is not appropriate to make it mandatory again. And so, but people are clearly saying, please get vaccinated and please wear a mask whenever you can.
So it sounds to me like there are no sort of ongoing discussions, at least at this point, of maybe bringing back any sort of masking mandates for public spaces like stores, restaurants, et cetera.
I will only say to you that there are ongoing discussions that go on every single day. The focus at the moment for us is now putting a plan in place to make sure that the second booster shot, the fourth dose, as they're calling it, there's a plan in place for people 60 plus to receive that. And we've done very well at getting people vaccinated in the city of Toronto. We will focus on getting those fourth doses out when we find out what the province's directions are in that regard. And we will continue our focus, as we're doing this week in TTC stations and elsewhere, on getting people the third dose, and in some cases first and second dose of vaccination, because that remains our priority. But as of the moment, there's no advice being rendered to me and to the others involved, at least in managing this pandemic in Toronto, to suggest that other measures should be taken other than encouragement to wear a mask, encouragement to do all the other things people have been asked to do since the beginning, washing hands and, being careful in crowd scenes and so on. And most importantly, please get vaccinated, and please encourage those who aren't vaccinated to get vaccinated.
Okay, let's look beyond Toronto's borders, a little further east into Ottawa. Federal Budget Day is coming up tomorrow. Mayor of the biggest city in the country, I'm sure you're keeping your eyes on what the government is promising. What are you looking for? What would you like to see for the city, or perhaps more widely for municipalities, in tomorrow's budget?
Well, I will comment today on the fact that we've made progress on getting the money needed to offset the impacts of COVID. We've lost a lot of money in our transit system because people haven't been riding, though those numbers are improving. And we've had a lot of costs we've been put to during the pandemic because of shelters and things like that. So the shortfall we had was something in the order of more than $1 billion. And we've had about $500 million, I think, so far of that money, but we need to have more in order to make sure our books are in good order. So that is a very focused concern that Toronto and other big cities have. But beyond that, we've got to continue the push with respect to housing. It is very important that we receive the great support on a continuing basis that we have received from the federal government to help with supportive housing for people experiencing homelessness, and affordable workforce housing for people who are just trying to find an affordable place to live. And that's a very top priority. And then we need to have other measures coming from them that are going to help us to have a strong economic recovery, because Toronto is getting back on its feet, but it needs all the help it can get, especially small and medium businesses need measures to help to support them as they come back from what has been a very long, difficult period during the pandemic. So we'll be looking for housing as a number one issue. I have other concerns on things like mental health, that are obviously a huge challenge for us, and especially, of course, for the people who are experiencing mental health issues. But it really is measures for economic recovery, housing, and things like mental health that we'll be looking for.
Right. I'm sure one thing that's helping Toronto's recovery right now is the local sports scene. The Blue Jays coming back, opening day's coming up Friday. The Leafs on the verge of making the playoffs. The Raptors guaranteeing themselves a playoff spot. When you think about, you just mentioned it, those small and medium businesses, particularly in the downtown area, they've really suffered since, Rogers Centre was closed, so Scotiabank Arena couldn't have fans, et cetera, et cetera. How significant and how important is that these local sports teams, the professional sports teams, are A, doing so well, but also B, will be drawing fans and crowds back into the city?
Well, it's great for the psychology of the city, as I call it. I mean, people are happier when their sports teams are doing well. It creates a certain sense of excitement. But if you look at it in practical terms, as you were suggesting, The Blue Jays, I think, are going to be exciting enough this year. You will have a day back again with us where when the home games are being played here, and that was a big step forward from the years of the pandemic, but you will not only have the games being played, but you will have bigger crowds. You'll have 30 and 40,000 people coming to a game that isn't the New York Yankees and that isn't a playoff game. I think that's going to be great. And then, of course, the other two teams making the playoffs, Raptors having done so, the Leafs on the verge. This is going to put, again, 20,000 people, quite a few nights over the next months into the Scotiabank Arena. And that is really good for the economy, too, because people go to the restaurants, they go to the bars, they come downtown, they use the transit system. All of this is an integral part of getting us back on our feet, taking the gains that we have achieved as a city through vaccination and so on, consolidating and protecting those, and then moving forward to make sure we can have a strong recovery. And that's what I'm very focused on at the moment. But the sports teams doing well sure helps that, just because it does bring people downtown. It does get them into a better frame of mind, frankly, and it does get them into a position where hopefully they're spending some money with some of these smaller businesses that have been so hard hit during the pandemic.
And you can dust off your Raptors blazer for the playoff run this year.
Yeah, I had it out for Kyle Lowry.
I saw
today,
that, yeah.
To him that, in wishing him all the best, and of course we love Kyle Lowry, that we would be showing no mercy in the playoffs and that the jacket would be coming out. And of course now I can bring it out because it only comes out when we make the playoffs, which we have now done, the Raptors, but we've got to see yet who will be playing and how far we're going to be able to get. And I think this is a very exciting young team, and I think they could go a lot further than people thought.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to face the Raptors this year if I was an NBA team, but we aren't here to talk sports. We're here to talk news and also get some viewer questions. So I'll hand things over to Jennifer now. She's got the viewer questions, Mayor Tory.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Good morning, Mayor Tory. Good to see you again. So our first question is related to COVID-19. It's from Rosie, who's been saying that, it's really hard for everyone to keep track of the rules over the last 2 years, including masking and physical distancing. And sometimes, as we know, provincial rules differ from city ones. So Rosie wants to know, can you clarify the rules when riding in elevators?
Well, yes, the bottom line, I think I'm correct in saying this, pretty certain that the bottom line is from the standpoint of a city bylaw or a provincial rule, there aren't any rules at the moment. Those were among the things that were lifted earlier in March. And so if there are rules now, they are more at the behest of condominium or apartment owners, condominium corporations. And so if people have concerns either not knowing what the rules are or having some concern about the rules, they should turn to their condominium corporation or their landlord, because at the moment we have issued some guidance about trying to be safe, and that includes the encouragement that Dr. Davila gave to wear a mask and so on, but there are no rules left in place to do with elevators as there were previously during the height of the pandemic.
Okay, and Mayor Tory, from elevators to bike lanes, an issue that never seems to go away here in the city. Turco wants to know, why is the city so keen and aggressive on installing bike lanes everywhere when so many neighborhood streets lack a sidewalk? Is the city more concerned with the safety of cyclists than pedestrians? Because that's what it feels like in my community.
Well, I don't know particularly where Turco lives, but I will just say that we're concerned about the safety of cyclists and pedestrians. And I will say in areas where there are not sidewalks, the law actually now provides for, and that's in respect of people who might have differing abilities and so on, the law actually provides for sidewalks to be installed. And it's interesting because when we try to put them in some neighborhoods that don't have them, people push back and say they don't want them. So it is one of those things that's just a challenge of trying to find that balance, but comply with the law, which says that areas should have a sidewalk, especially as we all get older and more people are trying to spend some time outside. The sidewalks are safe for the pedestrians. The bike lanes are an evolution in the same area, which is to say that there are more and more people cycling for health and environmental and a host of other reasons, cost, affordability, and that we simply have to provide for safe places for them to cycle. And we're doing that too. That creates some controversy from time to time about where you put bike lanes and all this kind of thing. And I just try to achieve in my job a balance, which says that we're going to have an appropriate number of bike lanes put in sensible places, that we're going to base that on data, not on politics and ideology. And sidewalks are a little different. It is the law that sidewalks should exist in neighborhoods, and we don't go and put them in proactively when we have other work to do, whether it's on sewers or repaving the roads or so on. We install sidewalks where they don't exist. But even that, again, becomes sometimes controversial. People say, no, I like my neighborhood without the sidewalk, but we put them in because the law says that in order to keep people safe, that's what we do.
Yeah, okay, so it's not really based on a preferential treatment system.
No.
Mayor Tory, last but not least, this question is from Lori. She asked you something last week. You said you'd follow up, so we thought we'd see if there's an update. So just a reminder, Lori asked last week, why are parking lots for city parks closed until May? Park users instead park illegally along the side of the park. Surely we don't think we'll have snow until May. Can they not be open sometime in April to accommodate outdoor family activities?
Here's a 100% honest answer, and I've sort of let you down for the first time. I raised it right after I got off the air last week on Wednesday. I just didn't get an answer back, or to my knowledge, I didn't, because I agreed with the viewer that these parking lots are not going to be snowed in anymore. We're now at the stage where hopefully that's behind us, and it does help to have those parking lots open. And so what I'll do is try and, before the show's over today, get an answer to that, because I had suggested that they could be open. Now, at least in many cases, they could be, and I didn't get an answer back to my knowledge, and that's just up to me to follow up and make sure you have that.
Okay, we'll try to follow up with you next week. Mayor Tory, thanks so much for your answers today. Have a good day.
You too, Jennifer. Thank you.
Take care.
Well, the first group of golfers tees off in about 5 minutes for the 86th edition of the Masters Tournament at Augusta National in Georgia. Tiger Woods, talk of the town. But hype and hope aside, there are scores of sidebar stories that make this edition of the Masters extra special. Let's explore and expose a couple of them in 4 good minutes, I hope, with TSN Bardown's Eric Kirk. Eric, good morning.
Morning, George.
Let's start with Tiger. You have to, right? Look, his 2019 comeback win, it really does stand out as one of the more singular great achievements in all of sports history, right? We can all agree on that. My question to you is, would a top 10 finish at Augusta this weekend, given that he almost lost his leg 14 months ago, would that meet or eclipse that?
I think it depends on who you ask. All eyes are on Tiger this weekend. And if you ask Tiger himself, he thinks he can win this. And I don't think he'd be playing if he didn't, but he did say himself that he thinks he can be in the running. I think a successful weekend for Tiger is just making the cut. It's his first tournament back since his gruesome injury. And Augusta is definitely not the easiest welcome back course.
Right. And it's soggy right now, too. I mean, they're going to give it some time. Does that favor Tiger? Is he a mutter when it comes to the links?
I think the wetter the course, the more accurate you need to be. And the most accurate golfers usually do well at golfers. You look at greens in regulation, and the top 10 usually always make the cut and usually finish very high on the leaderboard.
Okay, let's go down the line with others. Rory McIlroy, he has a chance here to complete that career slam. We've been looking for that for a while. And then Matsuyama, the defending champ, he's got a neck injury. What do you see with those two?
So if McIlroy can pull it off, he'll be the 6th player in PGA history to pull off the Grand Slam. He has 6 top 10 finishes at Augusta. 3 in the last 5. So I think he's been right there. He just can't get the job done. So I think this year he's definitely hoping to pull it through. And Matsuyama definitely has the chips stacked against him. The last time someone went back-to-back at the Masters was Tiger Woods over 20 years ago.
Really? Right.
So definitely not an easy feat. Jordan Spieth almost did it until he had the fall apart right at the end of his round.
Right.
But Matsuyama's neck injury definitely doesn't add to as easy of a round as he's going to have.
Eric, let's talk top Canucks. You got Corey Connors, Mackenzie Hughes with Mike Weir. They both won the par 3. We know no par 3 winner ever wins the Masters, but they both pledged to make some noise. What do you say?
I see Corey Connors as a very dangerous player in this year's Masters. Last year he finished 8th, which is a phenomenal finish. Mike Weir's the only Canadian to win the Masters, but 8th is nothing to snuff at. Mm-hmm. And I think as one of the most accurate players on tour, he is in the top 10 for greens in regulation. I think Corey Connors is a player that you can definitely look at, and definitely the leading Canadian in the group.
Yeah, 2 top 10 finishes is nothing to sneeze at the Masters, right?
No.
The pressure is just immense. Okay, now let's just wrap this up by going through some of the tournament favorites. Let's go in pairs, Koepka and Rahm.
John Rahm's the number 1 in the world for a reason. I think that he's definitely going to have a good tournament, but he needs to show it. And Koepka's a proven winner. He's been there, he's seen it, and I think he can definitely pull through.
Morikawa and Johnson.
Johnson's got the long bomb. I don't know how much that'll favor him with the wet grounds today. And then Morikawa, again, one of the most accurate players on tour. And I think that's really what we're looking at is the more accurate a player, the better I think he'll do this weekend.
And finally, you mentioned before, Spieth and Thomas. What about those two?
Thomas is my favorite to win it.
Oh.
I don't know what it is, but I just have a feeling that he's going to pull this one out. He's very accurate, always around the pin. And his scramble game is phenomenal this year. So I'm definitely riding high on Justin Thomas this year.
Eric Kirk, you did it all. You gave us the smart money and the heart money when it comes to who's going to pull this thing out for the 86th edition of the Masters at Augusta National in Georgia with Tiger coming back. Many reasons to watch. Just turn it to TSN and just throw the remote away. You don't need the remote all weekend. Eric, great stuff. Thank you so much. I really love having you on the show.
Thank you, George.
All right.
Good morning, Chanel. How is it looking and feeling inside this morning? Still quiet, but I'm sure the vibes will be getting off to a start as the day progresses.
Yeah, good morning, Nick and Jen. So much excitement here inside the Rogers Centre. We're live for you this morning. You mentioned we're just hours away from this huge night, a little taste of normalcy. The stadium behind us here going to be at full capacity tonight. 50,000 people packed into the Rogers Centre. But hey, look, if you didn't get a ticket inside, you can sit here. There's lots of room here. This is a great option. You get a great view here inside the Toronto Marriott here at the Sportsnet Grill. This has been a long time coming for fans, guys. This will be the first normal season in 3 years where all the Jays home games will be played right here in Toronto. It is an exciting night. Fans will notice also a couple of big changes. There's some new turf. There is a massive new video board. There's also some new LED lighting. There's also, by the way, a new roster. Jose Barrios, he will be the team's opening day starter when Toronto takes on the Rangers tonight. There are high hopes for the season thanks to some off-season acquisitions. We've got some big stars like George Springer, Bo Bichette, and Vladdy Guerrero Jr.
We want to be in that situation, that scenario when we had all that big crowd there cheering for us, and you know that team motivates ourselves to go out there and give our 100% every day. And tomorrow I had a chance to pitch and do my work from a lot of people. I know they are waiting for this moment so far, so I'm excited and I bring a lot of energy for them.
To be able to have a full capacity crowd and a full year here at home, the guys are comfortable. The guys are settling into their homes for the season and things like that. So just to be able to be around that and feel that comfort level, and then to be able to just go out there and be as good as you can every day, I think it helps a lot.
Okay, the Jays now the favorites to win the American League. As I mentioned, the game tonight is sold out. Capacity at full at 50,000 people inside the Rogers Centre, and first pitch set for 7:07. Back to you.
Okay, an exciting day indeed for the Jays and for Toronto. Chanel, thank you for that. We'll look forward to more from you this morning. In the meantime, if you're headed to the game tonight, you can get a free ride to and from the Jays game. The TTC offering free rides on the 504 King streetcar from 5:30 this evening right through till 11:30 tonight. No tap, no ticket, no token or cash required. So that's one way to get to the game.
Yeah, it certainly is.
And of course, in honor of the Jays being back at the ballpark, we've also asked to see your Jays pride and pictures. Here are some of those responses. This one coming in from Linda. This is my son Brandon meeting the Jays on the field in 2019. Oh, the times when you could actually get close to people.
I know. 2019 sounds so far away now.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
It does, and yet it wasn't. That's amazing. Okay, thank you for sharing those. This one comes from our viewer Fran, who says, here's a blast from the past. I've saved these ticket stubs from 1980 and 1981. Wow. My friend and I would drive from Acton to the Jays game and buy the tickets when we got there. My mom was terrified of us driving on the big highway, aka the 401. So she was under the assumption we took the train from Oakville. Sorry, Mom. Check out the ticket prices. $8 for a ticket.
I was just going to say, I can't see on this monitor from here, but I figured that the ticket prices would be something to stare at. $8.
Yeah, I was.
$8. You can't even get popcorn.
No,
for $8
you can't. You can
anymore.
get maybe a beer.
No, that's like 16 or 30.
Really?
It's nuts.
So Diet Coke. There.
I bet you that's probably
a Diet
$8.
Coke.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Oh, wow.
Jen, I feel like you got your drinks comped last time you were there. Let's go to Kim here. Kim sent in a picture of her son Connor. He's 8 years old. He was at his first Jays game when he was able to meet Drew Hutchinson. Now he's 16 and a huge JD Martinez fan with the Boston Red Sox.
Okay, this next one comes from Amanda, who says, a few years ago when my grandparents, who absolutely love the Jays, came to visit from New Brunswick, and we got tickets with the Durham Challenger Baseball League. We partied in the clubhouse and had a blast. Yes, that's definitely one way to do it when you go in one of those private suites.
Absolutely,
and then there's food that's catered and you're having your own party. You can kind of sit on a couch or watch the game, whatever you see fit. So,
fun times indeed.
Yeah.